taught you to hate the texture of your hair? How long? Not long.
The black man is discarded, is ostracized, is relegated to the lowest in things.
Who taught you to hate the color of your
The
skin?
black man is discarded, is
How
ostracized,
long?
is
Not
relegated to the
long.
lowest in things.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? How long?
The
Not
black man
long.
is discarded, is
Who taught you to
ostracized, is
hate
relegated to the lowest in things.
Welcome, Mx3+Me subscribers and people just tuning in for the first time. Thank you for being here with us. My guest today is Candace Quarles. She is a councilwoman for the city of DeSoto, and she is here today to talk to us about the importance of voting locally. So let's all give a clap for Candace. Hello, how are you?
Good, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. And I'm going to be asking her a series of questions, and we are going to break down who actually pays for these things. Is it paid on the federal government level, the state government level, or the local government level? And so basically just showing you, when it comes down to it, who should you really be contacting? All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So first question, our first statement. So you're driving down the street and you just you hit this pothole and you're just like, why are all these potholes in my street? Why is the street light never come on? What is going on in my neighborhood? Who can I contact to pay for all these changes, and who is going to make that change?
Right. So the answer is locally. That would be at the city level. So local government handles like street lights, parks, potholes, and things like that. So I would talk to. They usually have a public works or a streets department. But if you go to your council representative, they can assist you with getting to the correct department when you have an issue locally.
Local government. That's who you contact. Put that down. All right. So next question. With everything that is going on in the world today, do I actually have a say in the way the police departments are run, or who can I contact or talk to just make sure that things are happening the way that they should? And like, how do I have a say in that?
So local government controls the police department. So I would encourage you to get involved and talk to your city council rep. So this, the police chief, depending on the city, the police chief in DeSoto is hired by the city manager. The city manager is the equivalent of the CEO of the company. So if the police chief is hired by the city manager and the city council hires the city manager, I would talk to my city council rep and say, I have these concerns about the police department. Give them a call and let them filter it who you need to, and then they might direct you to talk directly to the police chief about some of the things that you see in your community that you think that they should be a part of.
So go elect the city council members that have the same agenda as you, or that work towards the things that you are working towards, because then they can write that policy to then give to the city manager so that he can act it out.
Yes, he executes the policy set by the city council.
How did that happen? Full circle. The circle of life. Okay, cool. So next thing, I got all these taxes coming out. Not only am I check, I feel like everywhere I turn, I'm paying a tax, paying property tax. All these this is like a tax over here and a tax over here. What? Who's responsible for taxing me all the time?
Right. So the way we use taxes is to keep the city and the school district running. So we tax companies, we tax individuals. So when you pay federal taxes, when you take home a $50,000 salary, you really only take $46,500 home. That's federal taxes, and that's set by the federal government. Then you also have city taxes, or depending on the city that you live in. So that's set locally by the city council. And what we have, anytime that you set the taxes in a city, they have to have public hearings. So you can come and voice your opinion about the tax rate, and you can say what you have to say, and the council has to listen. So I would encourage you to get involved in that way, because we have public hearings. You have to have them legally. We have to have two in the city, and usually no one shows up. So if you want to have an opinion or say anything publicly for the record about the tax rate, I would go to the city council meetings, and this is when you can have some say-so about the number.
Okay.
tax rate.
So find the public hearing in your city and go out and say, hey, people, I love you, but you're taking too much of my money. All right, and they're there to listen. This is what you have voted your council people into office for, so that they can listen and they are your voice when it comes to government. So think about it. Go out there.
Go out there.
Find
We'd
your
love to
council
hear from you.
meeting. Find your council meeting. All right. Next up, so when it comes to the way that schools are ran, are the things that different schools have. So you'll notice that, like, maybe some school districts pay more than other school districts. Who sets that budget in order, and who sets the guidelines for and the policies for schools that they need to follow?
So when it comes to the tax rate locally, because they're independent school districts, the local trustees are the school board made up of trustees and the school board president is equivalent to like a mayor. So you have representatives on the school board for your area, and I would encourage you to talk to your local trustee and you can address concerns. And they also love to hear from parents all the time, or community leaders, about how do we empower our schools, how do we get this particular curriculum. If you have insight about how things are ran, certainly they encourage you. And I think at the school board level, they also have public hearings, and during their meetings they have a session just for public opinion, and you can come and express some policy you'd like to see or some program. But this is your school district. We want you to be more engaged of how you can get involved. So there's opportunities there. You just need to learn the path and the way that you can get the right information to the right person so they can take action on your behalf.
Okay, all right. How do you become a trustee? Is that an elected position?
A trustee is an elected position. So a trustee is the equivalent of a city council person for a school board. So we have a mayor, they have a school board president. It's the same thing. That person runs the meetings of the other trustees, just like a mayor runs the meetings of the council members.
Okay, so if you want some change in your school district, make sure you're looking at your trustees and make sure that they are in there and have your best interests at heart. All right. And lastly, so if I am out and I feel like all of a sudden I break my foot, and now I gotta go to the hospital, but then I realized that my insurance doesn't really do anything for me, or I don't have insurance, or the cost of like my premiums are too high. Who regulates healthcare in that form of from the top down to when it gets to me, and I didn't have to sell my home because I broke my foot?
So regulation of health insurance is done at the federal level, but there is monitored at every level. So the actual rate is set by your employer and your healthcare provider. I would talk to the HR department if you think the rates are too high or there's been many changes about the plan. But the regulation of what's happening with healthcare is changing so much. It's at the federal level and the state level, and locally, of the cost of our health plans. There's plenty of reasons why. Politically, there's reasons why costs are increasing. Then also just the climate of what's going on in our country. We use more health insurance than we previously had. So when you use more, it costs more, and more people are actually taking advantage of it. So I would say talk to your HR department. They would have some insight about the price increase, but it's regulated at the federal level and the state level of how these things are going to affect you personally. Talk to your HR department. That's probably who you get it administered by.
Okay.
And then the state and the federal level are regulatory bodies over the price of some of the services that we pay.
All right, so go talk to these people. See and figure out what is going on. All right.
So it is an election, a presidential election year. So people are paying much more attention to politics, and they are more engaged, and they see things on TV, and they're looking at presidential debates. But there are elections happening all year long, not just every 4 years, and they're at the state level and at the local level. And presidential elections bring out the most people, whereas locally brings out the least amount of people. But the flip of that is at the local level is what affects you the most. So rarely things that the president does are going to affect you every day. Whereas locally, the streets, the water, the parks, the police department, those things affect you every day. And we need more people engaged at the local level. And if you could pay attention to your city council, pay attention to the school board, and you'll see the policies that they're implementing. And we need to make sure you're supporting the right policies of the people that represent you. If they have your ideology of how you think things should be ran, that's the person you should support. But when we only have 2 and 3% turnout at the local level, it's a very small pocket of people deciding the future of our cities and our counties. So I would encourage you to be more engaged locally, pay attention, come out to the elections. Trust me, we would love to have you. And not just in the presidential election year, every year when we have open seats.
All right. So thank you, Candace, for coming out. Lot of great information there. If you notice, pretty much all the questions that I asked her, besides maybe one, dealt with the local level of the people that you need to vote for. So, like she said, your council people, they're like your mini presidents. Honestly, they're like the mini presidents for your district or for what you have going on. So go vote for your president, your mini president, and don't worry about just the higher levels. All right, there's so many things that work for your day to day. Ballots are this long.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
And you only worried about this little map right here. It's so important to go vote for everything, every time that voting happens. So Candace, thank you for coming out.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Mx3+Me crowd, for sticking it out with us. Until next time, peace, love, and light.